Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. My guest this time is a true storyteller whose music blends Americana, country, and even a little touch of electronica, creating a sound that is as unique as it is captivating. He hails from San Antonio, Texas, and has performed for audiences in the United States and in Europe. Last year, he was named the Country Breakout Artist of the Year at the New Music Awards and a finalist for the prestigious New Folk competition. He's got a brand new song that is climbing the Billboard Digital Songs sales chart right now, and now is more of a perfect time to sit down and talk with Jeremy Parsons. Jeremy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on.
You've got quite a blessed life so far, sir. This is really nice to see someone succeeding in this industry.
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah. I've heard so many hard luck stories through the years, and we've got an individual here who's winning these big awards and such. And let's go back to the beginning. You grew up in Texas. You spent a lot of time as a youth helping your dad, who, by the way, happens to be a renowned horticulturist, Dr. Jerry Parsons. And you spent a lot of time working in the garden and helping your dad there. What was maybe the best piece of advice Dad might have given you?
I think the best thing that he was a great example. I think he always led by example. His words were always good too, but like his existence was, the thing that really spoke to me was he found something that he loved to do, and you could just see it. Like he was excited to go, to a greenhouse or get out in the garden or like go talk to people about plants and horticulture in general and help people with, growing stuff and in their location. It was his passion. And I think it was something, it was like the do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life example.
Absolutely. Jeremy, now you live in San Antonio, Texas right now. And have you had gardens last year and planning another one this year or?
The garden, we're working our way towards it. We're kind of like, tidying up the backyard and stuff. I have plants that I nurture and care for, but the garden is the next step, but I need to till it. And we're a very rocky place.
Oh gosh,
so yeah. The garden was made with dynamite. So they had to blast it and then bring in the soil. So wow. It needs to get used because of all the trouble that they went through to do that. But my dad's he's like 78 years old, so he can't really get at it much anymore. But I would love to keep it alive because when I was younger, I could just go out and grab a tomato and start eating it like an apple.
Exactly.
So I'd love to get back to that.
Because tomatoes are fruit, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you think of it as a vegetable or not, it is a fruit. And
they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's nothing like eating the ones that you've grown either.
Oh, yeah. It's a sense of well-being, and it's also a sense of accomplishment. Now, you started playing guitar and writing songs back in high school. Can you think back to maybe what was the first song you ever composed?
I think it was. I'm trying to remember, and I want to say. I'll start off right now that it was not good, but it was. I guess it doesn't have to be good if it's your first song. It just has to be a good start. You know what
exactly.
I'm saying?
Did you play in bands in high school?
I didn't. I tried to. One of my friends was a drummer, and we would go hang out and jam. But it was such a. It was so personal to me. Like I was growing myself. I didn't realize it at the time, but I think the songwriting was so much more important to me than the performance aspect and getting like a group together. In hindsight, it probably wouldn't have been a bad idea, but like I don't know if I would have grown as much as a songwriter because my focus was just like the tedium went directly into that. And later I would like try to up my guitar playing a little bit and stuff after seeing other people being like, whoa, I need to get better at this. But no, I never really had a band. I had bands live, and when we would go overseas and stuff like that, we would use like work for guys on the road, but it's mainly just been me acoustic, and I like that because you can you can really you can joke with the audience. You can stop in the middle of a song and be like, that actually reminds me of this one time that you connect with them personally, and that's I love that stuff.
And that's the sign of a good performer. I mean, there's a lot of great musicians out there, but if they don't engage with the crowd, it's kind of like it's a little more sterile. But if you can actually relate to the crowd and have some fun with the crowd and not take yourself so serious, because they've never, I mean, most of these people have never heard your music and such. So if you mess up, they're not necessarily going to know.
Right?
Unless there's some diehards in there that are going, oh, what did he play an F sharp there? I thought he was supposed to play an F. But
oh man, yeah.
Well, now your music blends Americana, country, and even some electronica in there. So you've got a lot of influences. Who were some of the bands and artists that inspired you?
The main one, when I was ever since I was a little kid, my dad would pick me up from like preschool, I think it was. And he would play, my favorite song was Kalijah by Hank Williams Sr.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, about a wooden Indian, like the weirdest song ever, man. Like I was just like, but it was so catchy that I'd sit in my car seat and do this, for Kalijah. and when it would stop, when it would stop playing, it was now a cassette, keep in mind. So it's like I would start crying, so he would have to be like, Yeah,
well, he's still driving too,
Well, and the funniest part was if somebody else came and picked me up, he would set it to when they turned the car on, that the end of the song would play and it would stop, and so whoever had me, I would just start crying, and they'd be like, "Why is he crying?" He's an absolute trickster.
Wonderful.
But Hank Williams Sr. was always just a huge influence for me. I loved his voice, and I loved his writing style. Like, I mean, for a dude who didn't make it past the fifth grade, like he was just a natural poet, and he just like I loved everything about it. His blues, his obvious blues influence. Like he played the guitar very abnormally for like most people who were doing these standard folk structure guitar playing.
Right,
he was just very unique for his time.
Awesome.
And so I always loved guys like that. And then as I got older, I discovered like the John Prines, like the real weirdos,
My wife's a huge John Prine fan.
Oh, he's so good. What I love about him is how he can be morbid and hilarious at the same time. Like he has this really good way of just being like, that's so... Like, you shouldn't be able to say that. That's fantastic. Like, I like those guys. They see the world like through their own lens, and they present it to you that way. Because I think that's what we're all living lives, but we all have different perspectives.
Understand.
So it's like, as creators and writers and stuff like that, it's our job to present our perspective from like a different vantage point, like as if someone is seeing it from their side, but they're like, oh, that's interesting, All
right, very good, very good.
So I like that. I like those guys.
Awesome. Now, last year, you were named the Country Breakthrough Artist of the Year at the New Music Awards and a finalist in the New Folk Competition. Some major accomplishments. What do you have your sights on for 2025? World domination? What do you
I don't know. I think other people are trying to do that right now. I should probably stay out of there.
Maybe?
You know what? I don't see. What's funny about that is like I didn't even know the Country Breakthrough Artist thing was happening. Like I just got an email and they're like, "Congratulations, dude!" And I was like, "That's awesome!" Like especially when you see the names is in there with like the Lainey Wilsons and Jelly Rolls and all those people that are killing it. And I was like, I was absolutely floored. It's all cool. And the Kerrville folk thing is just, there's so many talented people that submit every year. And it's really cool to just get chosen, because you're getting chosen usually by people who are former winners of the other finalists and stuff. So their pickers are people that they choose that were former finalists. So that also means a lot. But like when you get up there, it's one of the best audiences you'll ever play for.
Wonderful.
And so it's for me this year is like it's always about expanding. It's hard to ever tell what that looks like, especially as an independent. But it's just about, do I feel like I'm moving forward? What's the forward momentum look like? I'd like to get out of state more. Like I'm going to Georgia the middle of this month, and then I want to try to get to like North Carolina, like further east over there, maybe toward the end of the year, because I got a bunch of people out there who've just been like, hey, when you coming back? So for me, I think it's about like kind of expanding on the road this year, which is something I didn't really get to do last year because of family stuff, but it's on the agenda this year for sure.
I understand. Now, we've been talking about gardening. We talked about your dad. We talked about the dynamite and to get the garden. Your latest song is called The Garden. And I understand that the idea came when you witnessed a neighbor tending to her own garden. Is that true?
That's right. Yeah, our neighbor, when I lived in Nashville, I lived in East Nashville, and I still love it. When I go back to visit, I usually get like an Airbnb on that side of town because it's where all the creative people live, and it's got like a good energy and everything. But yeah, Brielle was one of our neighbors, and I was sitting in the kitchen. I picked up my guitar, and I was like, you schedule it in your mind. You're like, okay, I'm gonna write something today, and if not, I'm gonna try. And I'm sitting there, and I'm playing this chord structure, and she walks by the window like maybe 2 or 3 times back and forth, and every time she has like more gear. Like more gardening gear, like little spades and like all this stuff. And I'm like, it's like, oh, well, what's growing there in your garden? Like, oh, interesting. That's like this metaphor of like, are you, working in your garden to work through something, or you just like feel like you need to get out there and do it because you've been putting it off? Like, what's this whole tie to like, why do you feel like you need to dig in the earth? Is it that you feel like you've neglected your garden, or you're neglecting yourself, and maybe the garden is you, it's like, or you're mad at somebody and you really need to just till it out, is this a breakup gardening session? Like what's going on? So the psychology of like what it is to really get out and connect with the earth and grow something when you feel like maybe you are stuck where you are within yourself or your life, because we only have so much control.
Right, exactly.
So, but you can get out there and you can nurture something else, and that makes you feel, because even on days when you're down and feeling sluggish, like that's usually right outside your door, and it's doing something, so you can be like, okay, I did something today. But yeah, she helped me out that day. And a funny story too, at a New Year's party, I think it was later that year, I think I wrote the song somewhere around like August, but New Year's Eve we had a party, and it was over at their house. And someone was talking about, someone was like, oh, I wrote her a song. And then Brielle walks up. She's like, nobody's ever written a song about me. And I was like, actually, that's not technically true. It's not a love song, but you did inspire a song, just so you know.
Awesome. I love things like that. Great stories right there. Now, a lot of artists are releasing singles. It's not like the old music industry where you had this is all part of an album type thing. Is this ahead of a new EP album, or is this going to be just a single, or how are we going to play this one?
Right. So this will be it's the 4th single off the forthcoming EP. There you go.
Ah.
Yeah. So there's one more song, and we're working on it now. We just got a piano part back on it, and I need to do the, and then the release of that song, which was called "Who Was I," it will be the Life EP will come out. So like essentially when that single drops on Spotify and everywhere, the full EP will be packaged and come with it.
Awesome. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. So it's like, you're right though. It's a complete ball game, and it's been like a, back and forth to the drawing board type of situation.
But the thing is, it allows you more flexibility too, as far as that goes. If you have a dry spell, it might be 6 months between this song and this song here. But the thing is, if you have an album, you've got to, you got to book studio time. You got to do this. You got to book an engineer. You got to do all these necessary things. It's so much money doing it that way when you book it, you do an album and everything, because it's taken, some people it's taken 2 years to create an album. Well, Boston, even longer.
Yeah, no, it's wild. Like and there's like family stuff that happens. You know, you got your producer. Like, if you're your own producer, that's awesome. You can just like shovel stuff out nonstop. But I'm not quite there yet. Someday maybe. But I love my buddy Dustin that I work with. He lives up in Austin, which is like an hour up the road from me. So it's not inconvenient. And you know, he's one of my best friends. So I love seeing him and stuff.
Awesome.
But it's, you know, you got to juggle the life stuff as well. So it's, which is the name of the EP, believe it or not. So, but the cool thing about this is a collection of like songs I wrote during the pandemic. So we have about 30 songs that we're going to put out, and it's going to be stretched over like 3 EPs.
Okay.
So this is just the first one. Like right after this, we're going to go directly into the next one as quick as we possibly can.
Very good. Now you say you go up to Austin. Do you do South by Southwest?
I usually do. I'm not this year because I'm going to be traveling to Georgia.
Okay.
And South by Southwest is cool. It's just chaos, and it's
a Mardi Gras. It's a Mardi Gras of music, is what it is, basically. Yeah.
It is. And Austin, you know, it also has ACL Fest, so they stack it with the Mardi Gras of music.
And
so
some damn good barbecue too.
That's true. They do have good barbecue.
Best brisket anywhere.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I mean, there's so many places all over the state. You could like, you smell them and you pass them and you'd like turn around in the middle of the road and go back.
Absolutely.
Like just like small nowhere spots too. Those are some of the best, you know?
All right, very good. Well, tell you what, we're going to play The Garden right now. Here is Jeremy Parsons and The Garden on today's Someone You Should Know podcast.
Yeah, tell me what's growing there in your garden. Does it wither when you're feeling blue? Yeah, I see from where I am that your garden is thriving, and I hope that means you are too. Yeah, I hope that means you are too. What's hanging round there in your sky? Oh, how's the weather where you stay? You can tell the talk is small. We don't ever talk at all. Well, I guess we never knew just what to say. Look to your feet for common ground. Do you think they'll ever get you close? Yeah, well, I only ask 'cause we're all off and on this path, yeah. Just plant seeds, reap what we have sown. So tell me what's growing there in your garden. Does it wither when you're feeling blue? Yeah, I see from where I am that your garden is thriving, and I hope that means you are too. Yeah, I hope that means you are too. I see you looking for some. I feel you counting on the rain. Yeah, I don't know what it means, but I can see you on your knees, and I hope for your sake everything's okay. So tell me what's growing there in your garden. Does it wither when you're feeling blue? Yeah, I see from where I am that your garden is thriving, and I hope that means you are too. Yeah, I hope that means you are too. It's virtuous to say the least. You try and fail and try again. pays off in the end. Yeah, but patience always pays off in the end. So tell me what's growing there in your garden. Does it wither when you're feeling blue? Yeah, I see from where I am that your garden is thriving, and I hope that means you are too.
That's The Garden. It's brand new from Jeremy Parsons. Jeremy's my guest this time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, and we've got some more great music coming your way in seconds. But first, I want to say, hey, thanks so much for tuning into the Someone You Should Know podcast. Thanks to Buzzsprout, our service is shared on all the streaming platforms. We're so blessed to reach so many wonderful cities around the world, 2,800 cities in total and 106 countries. Some of those include Greenville, Kentucky, Vienna, Virginia, Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and Fernando de la Mora in Paraguay. How about that? The Someone You Should Know podcast heard wherever quality streaming audio is available. We are speaking with the 2024 Country Breakthrough Artist of the Year, Jeremy Parsons. Jeremy, you won that award. You started talking about it earlier as far as the new folk competition, and you were a finalist for that. You said that you're basically judged by your peers in that particular one, and it's probably one of the best things for you. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit more, please?
Yeah, I think as far, like, there's guys like Lyle Lovett, like, did that, Robert Earl Keen, like a bunch of the Texas legends and stuff, and a lot of artists have like gone through there, and it's a lot of respected artists and specifically songwriters. And I think it's one of those things. It's unmatchable. Like, and one of the best things about it is if you make it as a finalist, you get to do performance. It's one of the best crowds in the world. Like the other best crowd I've had was in Norway. I got to play overseas for like a week. And every crowd we had was just dancing and then paying attention in between songs. This crowd was like pin drop silent. And as soon as you finished, they were like, you know, if there's a funny line in a song, you could hear them, they were listening. They were just like tuned in, like glued to you while you were there. And it's 2 songs, and it's like you wish you could play an hour. And the Kerrville scene, the Kerrville folk scene up there is the most welcoming and nurturing space. Like anybody, like if there's an artist listening to this and you're a singer-songwriter, like submit to it, write in, and they connect you with the other, like the Folk Alliance thing in Austin, and then a bunch of people just were up in Montreal for the Canadian Folk Alliance thing too. So it's like everyone goes all over, and there's like a house concert, you know.
What a cool community. That's really cool.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
All right. Another song we're going to feature here was a #1 on multiple charts, Life Worth Dying For. When you found out that song went #1, what were you doing and how did you hear about it?
I got an email. So it's weird. My girlfriend and I love to go to this one breakfast spot. And for some reason, every time I'm there, I get an email from Michael, my publicist. It not every time we're there, but for some reason, it's when we're there that I get emails like that about stuff. So it's cool. It feels like you were already celebrating with a really good breakfast and you didn't know, and then you get the email or something, and you're like, oh, okay, well, cheers. You know, I gotta. But it's always weird. Like any award or anything, it's like you feel appreciative, but like you keep going. Like it's like, okay, this is fantastic. I'm grateful for it. You know, I'm gonna post about it and let people know and thank everybody for supporting me. But it's like, okay, like I'm in charge of me. We got to keep going. Like what's next? You know, and it's not that you don't, like, you know, stay, you know, grounded in the moment and grateful, like I said, but like you realize that those things that's an achievement because you were focused and working hard. So stay focused and keep working hard.
And thanks to Michael and the folks at MTS for all their help. They're the ones that connected us together. So I'm glad to have that. And Michael's a great guy, and I get something from him almost every single day. Backstory on Life Worth Dying For. Tell us about how it all came to be.
Well, that's just like, it's one of those things a lot of, going back to what we said about the garden, a lot of what my dad instilled in me, like the whole, make the everyday count thing, make sure you're doing something you love, make sure you're like, working on yourself, growing yourself. That's the thing for me. Like I wake up every day and I sit there, I'm like, hey, how we doing, man? Like just to check in with yourself, like, are we good? Are there things we need to change? Like, and it's, with my career, it's been one of those things, and just life path in general, even when it's been a rocky life path, I know that I'm still on the right one. And it's, I feel like that's how I feel. It's like, I feel like I'm living a life worth dying for. And it was one of those things for me when I wrote it. I was like, I want to get this message out there and make sure that people, if they're not on that same path for themselves, like let them know that like this is important. At the end of all this, I think this is one of the main bullet points that you should have been focused on. Like it's not about, are you making your 6 or 7 figures? It's like, are you surviving? Are you happy? Like it doesn't, the money doesn't, you need the money, of course we do. Like we're part of, this economic machine, we got to, put our chips in and pull them back out. But there's stuff that's so much more important. Like, are you doing something you love? Do you feel fulfilled? And that's what I really wanted to convey, because it's my own personal experience, and it's what I hope for everybody else, that they can have that. Because, you hear these stories of people like, they're literally on their deathbeds and it clicks. They're like, I would have done it different. And I always ask my dad, I was like, is there anything you would have done different? He's like, not a thing. And I was like, I'm the same way, dude.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. When you can go to bed each night and say, something, I did my very best today, and tomorrow I'm going to do even better. There you go.
Right.
The song is called Life Worth Dying For. It was a #1 song from last year from today's podcast guest, Jeremy Parsons. And here it is.
I can honestly say, if today was my last day, yeah, I'd accept my fate was to be done anyway. 'Cause it is what it is, and we all get what we get. Did you cherish every breath that's from me if nothing's left? Oh, I lived a life worth dying for. Oh, I smiled and I laughed till I cried. Yeah, I learned and I loved, falling and stood back up. When I could, I did all I could do. Don't know about you, but I'll say this for sure. Oh, I've lived a life worth dying for. Yeah, I'm feeling fine. It's just the thought finds me sometimes. Do you think about it some? Maybe I think of it too much. I did not mean to kill the buzz. No, that's not why I brought this up. I guess I just hope and pray someday I can hear you say, oh, I've lived a life worth dying for. Oh, I smiled and I laughed till I cried. Yeah, I learned and I loved, falling and stood back up. When I could, I did all I could do. Don't know about you, but I'll say this for sure. Oh, I lived a life worth dying for. is wherever I might lay. But these words, they're on display for all that might just come my way. But these words, they're on display for all that might just come my way. Oh, I lived a life worth dying for. Oh, I smiled and I laughed till I cried. Yeah, I learned and I loved, falling and stood back up. When I could, I did all I could do. Don't know about you, but I'll say this for sure. Oh, I lived a life worth dying for. Oh, I lived a life worth dying for.
That was Life Worth Dying For from today's podcast guest, Jeremy Parsons. Dude, you've played countless shows in the States and Europe. What was your pinch me moment that made you realize, gosh, I really am a success at being a musician? Was it a number one song? Was it the folks singing back to you in Norway? Was it something else?
Man, I think it was actually really early in my career. Like, it was when, like, in that time when I was like still unsure if this was something that I could pursue full time. I got the opportunity to open up a show for George Jones.
Really?
In Houston, Texas, at the Arena Theater. It was November of 2008, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And I was still like a baby. It was just me and my guitar in this arena full of people who came to see like probably one of the greatest country vocalists of all time. And for me, that was like playing that show. And I got to get one of the stories. Like, George Jones had these stories. We had a bunch of stories, of course, but one of them from his opening acts was he would love to watch the football games on his bus before his show. And if the football game ran over, he would make you play your set longer. And there's people like Kathy Mattea and, like, you know, Pam Tillis and all these like people that were coming up, you know, when he came back and was doing like the high tech redneck stuff, and like who had all these great stories too. And I'd read about him, of course, because I'd read like all of his biographies, and so I had just finished my last song, and the crowd is like standing up and clapping. And I'm like, thank y'all so much. And I was wearing my in-ears because you have to in just a place like that because you're not getting anything back sound-wise. And the sound guy comes over the board and he was like, hey, George is still watching the football game. It ran over. Do you mind playing like about 5 more songs? And I was like, that was my entire set list. Of course I had more songs because I was writing like probably 20 a week at that time. I was just like plowing through ideas because I wanted to get my chops up, like the experience points. And so I was like, just kidding, encore, 5 more songs, you know. And it's just this whole deal of like, you know, and people were cool with it. They clapped and cheered. And then George came out and Nancy, his wife, came up and she was like, I think you should move to Nashville. And a few people had said that to me at that time, and like my dad was very supportive of it. My mom did not want me to leave because I was the baby, but like everybody was like, I think you need to go to Nashville. And I was like, this is George Jones's wife. Like, that's a pretty big deal. Like, I should probably really consider that. And by March of 2009, which was like, you know, 4 or 5 months later, I was in an apartment in Nashville.
Wonderful.
But that was a big pinch me moment. Like, you think about that, like, you know, George Jones has passed since then, and like nobody's going to get to open up for George Jones anymore.
But you can say you did. I love that. Yeah, that is wonderful.
And I was a baby. I was 20. I was like, I had just turned 21, I think. Mm-hmm. I look back at it and I'm like, where I am now, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have been there, but I was for some reason. So it was awesome. It was really awesome.
Right place, right time. That's what counts. Now, conversely, there have been those times where things didn't go quite as planned. We have the section that we love to include called Tales from the Road. These are those infamous road stories where things didn't go quite as planned. You get to the venue and you realize that you're supposed to be at another venue, or you get there and you plug in and nothing works, and there's the power blows, and there's storms that'll knock out power, or you get to your destination and you have a flat tire. And what would you say might be Jeremy Parsons' Tales from the Road?
The one thing that, like, and this was totally in my control, like I shouldn't have done it. I was playing place called Music Ranch, Montana. I never do this. Like I'm usually like like George Strait, like stand there and play my songs behind the mic, like not do any Garth Brooks athleticism type stuff. But for some reason, this crowd or something got me riled, and I went from like one stage to the other while like I brought an electric guitarist with me. Mainly because he wanted to go because he was a photographer and we were going to be driving to Montana, so everything's just like beautiful mountain scenery. Right, yes, exactly. And so I got overly excited, and this is the first and last time I ever did this. So I went to go jump from a section of the stage to the other, and I guess I was looking at the crowd and forgot the space was the way that it was, and I almost broke my foot. Like they had to cut my shoe off my foot later after the show. Like my tour manager who was with me literally had to go get like these special scissors and cut my shoe off. It was like, I have a picture of it somewhere, and it's gross. I'm not going to show anybody, of course, but like my foot was bruised like all the way down it. And granted, that's like a in my control situation, but like it's not. But I played the rest of the show. This was at the probably 10 to 15 minutes into the show. So granted, I had to play the rest of the show like just it was a karma thing. It's like, okay, you did this to you, bro. Like every move that you make that shoots a sharp pain up into your brain like a knife, like that's on you. But I was so I recovered the fall. I did not fall. I mean, I recovered, but like getting back to the microphone was like just it was and I was too amped to be embarrassed, right. Thank God. But it was just stupid. It was one of those things where it's like I shouldn't have done it, and I know that I shouldn't have done it, but I just got excited, and I've never done it since. So I was like, it was like, all right, that Garth Brooks life, and for me, I'm more of a just stand
exactly.
behind my yeah.
Did you ever hear the story of Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters? He was playing a gig in I think it was Sweden. Third song, second song in, he falls off of a stage, or he trips over a mic cord and falls 12 feet to the floor. He shatters his ankle. And this is only the second song, so he's telling the band, keep playing, keep playing, keep playing. They take him backstage, and there happens to be a doctor who was in the audience, happened to see what was going on, or he was backstage or whatever, for whatever reason. And they played a 3-hour show with the doctor holding his ankle back in position for the entire time. He just sat there at Dave's feet for 3 hours while they finished the show. And then afterwards, he had to have it set and everything like that. But yeah, that's what a performer's all about. I've seen so many performers complain about, the sound, the acoustics aren't right. This guitar is crap, blah, 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 and walk off stage. No, you're not going to win people like that. Your tenacity and staying with it and just finishing the performance probably won a lot of people. And you won me also by doing something like that.
Well, because it's like that's one thing you realize when you start this gig. Like at first, you're very when I was younger, I would finish a show and you could ask my dad. I'd get very upset about it's like, oh, I messed up a line. It's like, oh man, it's like, but they don't know exactly, yeah. And it's you realize how it's like, but then as you progress, you realize it's like, oh, it's not about me. Mm-hmm. Like it's about giving them what they came to see. And like whatever happens, it's like a unique experience. If I mess up a line or change a word, it's become a unique experience that they weren't expecting. So it's this thing. It's like, I'm here to do a job. I'm going to do it, and it's, and I probably should have gotten my foot scanned or something afterwards, but like I've been scared of doctors since I was a child. So, and my foot's totally fine. I like work out a couple times a week now, and I haven't had any issues. And that was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
for the record, Jeremy, there's a lot of Grammy-winning performers that fluff lines that don't even remember their own songs. So it happens. It totally happens
to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we all brain fart. Yeah.
I've had performers that they started on the wrong verse. And they said, okay, stop. Let's do this correctly. And it's like, one more time from the top, and it's like, okay, it was just a memorable moment from a concert. That's what people will remember. Not like, did you see him screw up like that? I don't believe he did that. I paid good money. He screwed up. No, they're probably laughing the same way. It's like, hey, this person is human, Despite winning all these awards, they're human too,
Well, that's what I love about the internet these days is like you see depending on your algorithm, you see all these old clips. Like I saw a clip of Waylon Jennings messing up the other day, and apparently he was like staring at Jesse Coulter, like walking away, and he just started singing the wrong song, and you can hear the music. You recognize, you're like, wait a minute, and then what he's saying, he was like, oh, wrong song, sorry, and then just goes right into it. It's just like, what a pro.
It is. Let's talk about social media. You talked about the fact that you're going to Georgia sometime this year, maybe North Carolina later this year. So I know everyone listening wants to follow along with where you're going to be and when they can get tickets and such. Social media, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, I'm on all that stuff. It's on Instagram or X or Twitter, whichever you call it, and Facebook. It's all Jeremy Parsons Music. Okay. And if you want to, another really easy thing to do is go to my website, jeremyparsonsmusic.com, and there's links to all of those socials, and I have a section with all the tour dates and everywhere that I'll be this year. Awesome. And if you want to reach out, you can also reach out to me on there. Ask me any questions.
Awesome. Very good. Just like I did. All right. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. I will include those down in the show notes. So if anyone's driving right now and wants to know all that information, don't worry. It'll be in the show notes. Just click on the link. It'll take you directly where you need to go. Final song we're going to feature was another hit called Humanity. Let's talk about Humanity. How'd that all come together?
I wrote it during the pandemic when just everything was happening that nobody expected all at once, and it was weird. It was just like sitting there because I was that is like very high risk, so I was very paranoid and kind of just stayed put because all of our shows were getting canceled anyway. So luckily I had an album that I had finished because I just moved back from Nashville. And I had it, and I was like, well, I'll just, wait for the right time to release this. And then all of my shows got canceled.
Right.
And, just because, a lot of venues didn't have a choice. So it's, I stayed put, released the album, and I wrote a lot. And, there was a lot of things to write about. Like, I had plenty of time. And, if I even turned on the news for 5 seconds, there was just, you were just seeing all this stuff happening and wondering like what was going on in people's minds. Like, we try to, they say stuff just happens, right? Yeah. Stuff happens. And it's how we react to it that really matters. And, like I said earlier, that we only have control over so many things, and watching people fight against things that they don't have any control over, to me, sometimes looks, for lack of a better word, it looks very stupid. Like, it's kind of like punching a brick wall and then breaking your hand and going like, what happened? I was like, well, this is a brick wall and your hand is made of crushable bone. This is not rocket science.
Exactly.
It's a cause and effect here. So I was just watching all this stuff, and it's not even political. It's just like what the song is. It's the humanity of it, like what that word is supposed to mean and what it's attached to as us as humans and what we do with that. We have the capacity But when something doesn't go our way or interferes with our plans, sometimes there's this huge like eruption overreaction thing. And it was weird to see that happen. And humanity was written from the viewpoint of like, this is what it's supposed to be. Like, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you capable of it? You have lost it or something. And I don't want to see that happen. Like, I know that we have the capacity to do like wonderful, beautiful things because people do them every day. Like, people create wonderful things every day, but like, some people who aren't content, and like I said, going back to like, you know, growing or nurturing their garden or living that life worth dying for, like they tend to have this really venomous backlash to all this stuff, and it was just me processing through that, and like a lot of the songs that we've talked about today and heard, like it's me wanting to see everybody do better. And like, I don't exclude myself. Like, I'm not perfect. Like, I'll be working on myself until I die. Like, that's just the way that it is. And we're never through. If you think you're perfect, you might as well die, because you're not going to do anything else.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sorry, you're not. And if you're still here, you still got something to do, man. Awesome. That's just the way it is. But yeah, humanity was written from that standpoint of like, man, I know we can be better than this, like, because I've seen it, you know, but awesome. It's,
Very good. Very good. Jeremy, it's been a real delight to have you on the show. We wish you more success for 2025. Hope you have a great tour. Hope everything is safe, and hope to have you back on the show when you bring home that Grammy.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'll just be sitting here, obnoxiously just sitting here the whole time on like a pedestal. No, that's ridiculous. You know, they make you pay for all that stuff?
No, I did not.
Yeah. So you gotta pay for the ticket to the Grammys, pay for your seat, and then you gotta pay for the actual award. So that's like a prop one and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's wild. So it's all these award shows are weird. You know, so I obviously would be like, I would accept a Grammy very graciously, because it's probably the highest achievement you can get as a musician. But yes, we will do this again, and I thank you so much for having me on, and I will keep you posted if that Grammy thing happens, for sure.
Tell me what you think you're doing. I try and board your train of thought. Ain't it a shame you look just like me, but we're nothing alike at all. I've scaled and sat atop of mountains. I found I was not scared to fly, but I would not tolerate the mindset of those who sit and judged on high. I saw that humanity was dying inside them, with no plan to save them from themselves. Yeah, good and bad seeds get planted all around us. I've seen and learned this lesson well. Yeah, withered souls will never know true wealth. No, I've never been a target. I do not know the things I can't. I'll be the first one to admit it. What's so hard to understand? Keep talking over one another. All that's needed is one voice. I never claim I know what's best, but I know we've always got a choice. I see that humanity is dying inside you. How do you plan to save you from yourself? Your good and bad seeds get planted all around us. I've seen and learned this lesson well. Yeah, withered souls will never know true wealth. If you find yourself lonely and you can't figure out just why, oh, maybe you were mistaken and you missed the point of life.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for listening to this episode of Someone You Should Know. Now, if you're an aspiring musician or an established musician that's looking for a little exposure, I invite you to drop us a line at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. That's someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I invite you to tell a friend about the Someone You Should Know podcast. I thank you for tuning in this time, and I invite you to check us out next time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, because you never know who's going to show up. Until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do I.